Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Cooking Homemade with Jill. We are in for, or you are in for a treat today because I'm making Pulla, which is a Finnish cardamom flavor seasoned sweet coffee bread. Now, a little background on the Finnish people. They, in their culture, they have a coffee break routinely in their day. And when company comes, man, you have to have coffee. And there are literally like coffee tables where specific kinds of foods and breads are offered to guests. Did you know that in Finland, the country of Finland consumes more coffee per capita than any other country in the world? I think that's absolutely astounding. So growing up in a Finnish or half Finnish household and spending a considerable amount of time at one of my aunt's houses in the summer at least, we had, it was a staple in our diet. My dad and uncles would go to help her do the haying in the summer, and you broke, everything stopped mid-morning and you came in and you had coffee and pulla. Or it's also called nisu, I think. And apologies to my Finnish friends for not pronouncing things correctly, because I didn't learn the language, unfortunately. So anyway, today, this is what's going on in my kitchen. I'm very excited. So one of the main features of Pulla is cardamom. And I know you can get pre-ground cardamom in your grocery store. You can even get cardamom pods in your grocery store. I mean, if that's all you can do, go with it. The problem with that is that it's been sitting around in a jar for God knows how long. I'm fortunate in that in the next town over, there's an awesome herb and spice store. So I can go get my cardamom there. But today I'm actually using up some cardamom I bought online. And the different kinds. I'm not a cardamom expert by any means, but I'm going to be using what I've got. So let me show you how my routine is. So these are cardamom pods. Inside these green pods are some cardamom seeds. And if you've never seen this, I'll break one open. They're the pods are pretty soft, so it's easy to break them open by hand. And what you get are these teeny tiny little seeds, if you can see that. And then what happens is you pulverize them into a powder, right? So I need 1.5 teaspoons for this recipe of cardamom, ground cardamom. So that's a lot to do. So how I do it is I get a bunch of the seed pods in a tea towel and wrap it up and get my handy dandy meat tenderizer and then just beat the blazes right out of the pods. And what it does, this wasn't enough to do anything, but what it does is it, kind of shatters the shell out, and then it takes a while. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back here in a little bit. We'll see you. Okay, I'm back, and I have succeeded in separating my cardamom from their pods, and I ground it up. I have 1.5 teaspoons in here that we'll get to in a second. A couple of things about cardamom. If you have pets, it's toxic to dogs, and I would assume cats too, although I don't know that. So be very careful. My dog is never far away, and he has his little nose ready to spring into action should any of these, anything go onto the floor. So what I'm also doing, I'm going to tip the camera down. I've got in my pan here a stick of butter, so 1/2 cup of butter and 2 cups of milk. And I've been warming that because it's going to activate the yeast. I melt the butter first, and then I add the milk to about 110 degrees. This is coming in at 112, so it's ready to go. So come on over here, and we're just going to add this. So this is like put everything in the mixer at once. So it's 1/2 cup of flour, I think it's a teaspoon of salt, 3 teaspoons of that great instant yeast that I use that I love, a teaspoon and a half of cardamom, 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs. That all goes in there, and the 2 cups of milk with a stick of butter. And it all just kind of goes right in there. I've got my dough hook, and I'm going to start just mixing this up a bit. And then over in my big bowl here, I have 6 cups of bread flour. So we're going to start adding that as well. As soon as I can find a scoop or something. There's a lot of flour here. Oh, yum. Now, one of the things I like about this recipe is, you know, when you're making other bread recipes, it gives you like approximate amounts, like, 6 to 6.5 or 6 to 7, and you got to kind of figure out what your humidity level is in your house, and, you just dump all 6 cups in here. This great takes the guesswork out. Because I'm getting more of it on the counter than in the mixer. There you go. I don't know if you can see that. I'll inch you a little closer. Inch this a little closer and we'll have it off the countertop. So I'm going to just stop this and scrape down the sides because I want all of that flour to get incorporated. I know I really need to use my bigger spatula, but oh well. This is what we've got. So this recipe, it says in the directions it makes enough for, I think they said like three loaves of Pulla braids. Sorry. So I don't know that I make 3 loaves. I might make 2. The other thing that I could try it again is with this same dough, basic dough, you can make the Pulla braid, or you can make the Finnish version of what are cinnamon rolls. And it's called, and again, apologies to my Finnish friends who speak Finnish, I don't. I think it's called Korvapuusti. And so I may use half of the dough recipe to make those, because then I can freeze them. So here it is. This is going to make a sticky dough. And I'm going to let that knead for about 6 or 7 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back, and this dough has been kneading for about 7 minutes, and I wanted you to see it, if you possibly can, that it doesn't really look like your standard bread dough, does it? I mean, it's not in a nice little ball, and it's very, like, it looks like a mess, doesn't it? Well, don't despair, because that's how it's supposed to look. I'm telling you, it's a different, this recipe is different than any other kind of bread or dough recipe you're going to make. So now it needs to rise. And you can do this right on your countertop. My kitchen tends to be cold, so it's not the best option for me. And fortunately, I'm gonna park that back there. My oven comes with a proofing feature, which was a real selling point, I gotta tell you. I was very excited about that. So, instead of, most bread doughs, you use flour, you flour your hands, you flour your rolling pin, blah, blah, blah. Not Pulla. You use some kind of, I just use cooking spray. So I'm gonna spray my bowl scraper because it's gonna rise in this bowl. I'm not gonna haul it out and, you know, grease some other bowl, which is probably counterintuitive. But anyway, just like that. And I have here some plastic wrap that I have sprayed with more cooking spray that goes over the top. And then the whole business is going to go in my proofing oven. I will check it after an hour and see if it's doubled in size. The recipe says let it proof for 2 or 3 hours. And again, I think that's if you're just proofing, you know, in a warm room or something. My oven is a little faster, so we'll see how that goes from there. So I'll be back. Hi everyone, so I'm back, and the Pulla dough has been rising in my proofing function on my stove for a little over an hour. And here it is. And so I'm gonna just take the top off. Now we come to the interesting part where my lack of skill just comes shining through, but you know, we're gonna give it a whirl anyway. So the thing with Pulla dough is, unlike regular bread dough, you don't punch it down. So I have my bowl scraper here, and I've sprayed with cooking spray my my cooking mat here, and I'm just gonna attempt to get this out of here, just using my bowl scraper. Now, the recipe says, and tra-la, look at that. The recipe says that you can make, I'm going to spray my hands a little bit too. You know, ordinarily you'd be flouring yourself to death, but no. The recipe says this can make 4 12 by 5-inch braids or loaves. I never do that. I'm gonna, I think I might do, I can't remember if I cut it in thirds. So much for my memory. Rats. I think I'll just cut it in half and, oh gee, and see what happens here. Yeah, this is the thing with this kind of recipe and this kind of dough, is that, for heaven's sakes, don't continue to add flour to it. You'll make a mess. So I'm going to, I'm just going to divide this, park that guy over there for a little bit, and start working with this dough. And what I'm going to do is cut this into 3, because I'm going to make a braid. And then have that braiding this up, and I never get even braids. They're all lopsided and whatever, but you know what? They eat just fine. They eat just fine. So roll these out a little bit. Always end up with a lump somewhere. I'm assuming you can see this, right? My hands are a little greasy. So yeah, roll these out. Your 3 little braids. Now you can do this with the whole thing. I'm not. I'm going to be making cinnamon rolls out of the other half of this dough. So there you go. And then the third one. You know, I looked for years, because as I said, I can't remember if I said, I might have, that my aunt made this Pulla. Oh my gosh, it was just fantastic. You sit over there for a minute. And I could never find a recipe that ended up tasting quite like hers. And it was very frustrating. And I think it wasn't until, and I wish I could remember where I found this particular recipe. I suspect it was on a YouTube video. But anyway, so whoever in it, I almost wondered if it was some kind of Finnish, you know, place in, like, I don't know, Wisconsin, where, Michigan, Minnesota, I don't know, one of those things, where they have a lot of Finns. So that's what I kind of do is, and then I have a tough time remembering how to braid. So it's a little, figure it out kind of as you go. This looks just like a hot mess, but it'll be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end yet. Because I usually have to go back and rework it, because the top part is too loose. Some people start in the middle, now that I've undone that. And it's over and under and around and through. All right, close enough. And then you just kind of crimp the ends. And I have a, my sheet pan here. See, I probably could have, you know what, I think I'm gonna just chop this in half and do 2 loaves. That'll be a first. How about that? So, kaplow. That goes on my sheet pan, lined with parchment paper. And have such great aim. All right, so that's going to go back in, do you see all that? My proofing oven. Let me step around here. I'm going to cover that up with a towel. And then we're going to work on the other half. Now, I worry that this is going to make a lot more than I thought too. Need my trusty rolling pin, which of course I forgot to get out. I'm just going to spray some more cooking spray on my hands and see if this will work. Oh yeah. So to make traditional Finnish cinnamon rolls, the Korvapuusti, I'm just not going to do it. I've tried making it before, and all of my insides run out, and I'm suspecting it's because I don't roll the dough up tight enough. That's my guess. So, we'll have to see how this goes. So I'm going to just do the filling the way I've always done it when I make just, a regular cinnamon roll recipe. So, let's see. This should be relatively thin. I'm not sure what this measures, but it's pretty good size. It's got to be, I don't know, like 18 inches by 12 or so. And I have a 1/4 cup of melted butter. I'm just going to put that on there and then go find something to smooth it out with. Ooh, maybe a pastry brush. That might work. So I'm just going to spread it around. I'm going to keep it away from, I don't want it going over the edge of the dough. So I just want to even it out a bit and spread that around like that. And then, because I don't measure when I do this, I make this a lot at Christmas time. I just take like a handful of, this is light brown sugar, and sprinkle it on. I mean, it's, this is very technical, as you can see, right? So on it goes. So it's going to probably end up being, I don't know, between a cup and a cup and a half of brown sugar. I'm pretty liberal. And then I just kind of schmooze it out. And again, I try to keep away from going over the edges, because then it's just going to leak out and, be a stickier deal. So there's that. And then if I can find my cinnamon, and again, I'm the sprinkle queen here, so I'm just going to sprinkle. It's probably the equivalent of a teaspoon or teaspoon and a half, right, of cinnamon. I tend to go lighter because I like cinnamon. It does not like me. Now, the Finnish version does not add raisins, but I like raisins. I'm the only one in the family that does, so I'm adding raisins. Try and stop me, right? And again, it's just a handful by handful. So this is probably going to be, oh, I don't know, a generous half of a cup of raisins on there. All right, we'll consider that good enough. And then you're going to roll it up. Now I'm going to try and roll this a little tighter if it's not sticking to my hands, and see how that does. And I think one of the ways, I forget what I was making here a while back, and I thought, oh, it works better if you pull it away and then try to wrap it, roll it up. Because I can feel this wanting to gap under my hands. All right, everybody get in there. Nobody jumps overboard. There, and once you get it going, I'm going to tuck that in because it's too much. And you can pinch the ends so nothing leaks out. Right. Here comes the other tricky part for me, is cutting this thing up. So I have a 9x9 all buttered, and I'm going to try just making 12 of these, but you know, my math skills are lacking too, so let's just see how we get on. So if I cut this in half and try to get 6 out of each one, that would be 12. Oh boy, here we go. All right. See, already they want to. You should really check and roll. Look at this. Oh my God. All right, everybody, you know, and they're going to taste fine. So I'm often putting the innards back in because they all jump overboard. And then the end guy. Let's see if we can do that again. Oh dear. All right, somehow we muddled through it. I scoop up my stuff and fill it in. All right, so this is going, a couple of raisins that tried to escape. This is going to go back into the oven to proof as well. As soon as I can find something to cover it with. This will probably go in for, and again, I'm going to start them for an hour and see how they come. Again, they should double in size, and then we'll do the next steps. I'll see you in a while. Okay, I'm back, and we're in the home stretch. Now, I've just taken the Pulla and the cinnamon rolls out of the proofer, and we're ready to get them into the oven. But before we do that, there's one final step here, and I'm going to give these, the Pulla loaves, an egg wash, and then we're going to add some pearl sugar to it. If you have not heard of that, you'll see what I mean. I don't know, I probably should have braided these in 2 separate pieces rather than one long and then cut it in half, but you know what, it'll be all right in the end. It really will. All right, so what traditionally Finnish people used to top their Pulla before they bake it is pearl sugar. This is the Swedish pearl sugar that I get at King Arthur Flour, even though they said no to my affiliate application, but okay. So I use this stuff. You can also use like a sparkling sugar. I tend to use the sparkling sugar on other things like cookies because it doesn't melt when you bake it, neither does the pearl sugar. So after you do the egg wash, you just give the loaves a little sprinkle with the pearl sugar. And traditionally also, you should be then putting on some almonds, sliced almond, but I don't have that. So we're going to omit that. So that's now ready to go into the oven. Now the directions say to bake it in a 325-degree oven for 18 to 25 minutes. Well, when I've done that, it's never done in that time. The internal temperature should be around 190 degrees, and that's when you know it's done. So I have bumped up my oven to 350 degrees, and I think I'm going to bake it at that. These will bake separately, but I wanted to show you, these are the cinnamon rolls that have been also raising for the second time. They don't get an egg wash. They're going to get a butter bath kind of thing when after they're through baking. But for right now, they're going to be waiting and resting, and while the Pulla bakes. So I'll be back and we'll look at the finished product. Hang on. Okay, I'm back, and the Pulla and the Korvapuusti, or the cinnamon rolls, are out of the oven and cooling. So I cook them, one at a time. I want you to kind of come in and look at them. These are the cinnamon rolls. I mean, yummy, yum, yum. And the Pulla, and I'm going to cut into the Korvapuusti, the Pulla, because this has been cooling for a while. They should be okay. I just want you to see how really light and delicate this coffee bread is. It's just the thing with a cup of coffee or tea or cocoa. You can toast these and put a little butter on it. You can freeze them. You can freeze the cinnamon rolls if you want the Korvapuusti. I really hope that you will try this recipe. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Ask your friends to subscribe to my channel as well. It means a lot to me. I'm going to be putting some affiliate links in the description for the instant read thermometer. So these need to be, when you can tell if they were done. Oh, so 350 degrees, and I think the Pulla I cooked for, I want to say 25 minutes in my oven at 350. The cinnamon rolls went for, I think 30 minutes at 350 degrees, but they both need an internal temperature of 190 degrees. That's how you tell when they're done. And that's important. And you get that by using an instant read thermometer. I'll put the link in the description again. For heaven's sakes, get one of these if you can, if you don't already have one. I'll also put the pearl sugar affiliate link in there if I can't, if Amazon sells it. Otherwise, check out King Arthur. Pity. But anyway, try this and let me know how it worked for you. I'd be curious to hear. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time, Cooking Homemade with Jill. Bye.